I met her on June 12, 1957, the first night of the county fair. I was 19, with hay on my shirt, $1 in my pocket, and a draft notice waiting at home. She was at the milk bottle booth, laughing at the carney's rigged setup. Her name was Jenny. Yellow dress, eyes full of spark, and the kind of smile that made you want to say something true. We walked the fair together like we'd done it 100 times. She told me she wanted to be a teacher. I told her I wanted to be something useful. We rode the Ferris wheel, but didn't kiss at the top. It felt too easy, too early. See you at the church picnic Sunday? She asked that night. If the tractor cooperates, I said. It did. The next few weeks felt like a small lifetime. We sat on the hood of my father's truck, watching the river. She read me poems from a little book she always carried. I recited the back of a seed packet to make her laugh. And she did. Then came August. And the date, September 5th, Fort Leonard Wood. I told her at the old baseball field. She nodded like she was holding back a storm. Then we write, she said, like it was simple. 2 letters a week. More if we could. She promised to send me newspaper clippings and little things that would remind me of home. I promised not to write like a telegram. We didn't say goodbye the last night. We sat quietly under the stars, her head on my shoulder. When she looked up, she just said, "Promise me something small. Stay yourself." I did. She gave me a letter for the bus. Inside it said, "Write when you're ready. I'll be at the yellow gate." J. Fort Leonard Wood hit hard. Heat, drills, shouting, silence. That first night, I wrote her, told her about the heat, the noise, the guys in my barracks. I wrote again 2 days later. And again, but no letters came. The other boys got perfume-stained pages, lipstick prints, pages with hearts. I got nothing. I told myself mail was slow. Then maybe she was busy. Then maybe I wasn't worth answering. On the 19th day, I got something. A postcard. No words. No return address. Just a wildflower taped to the front. And on the back, one line. I am here. J. That card lived in my shirt pocket for weeks. But no other letters came. Still, I kept writing. Little updates. Bad jokes. Even copied poems from her book. I never told her I was afraid. One day, before we shipped out to training, I walked to the base post office. "Can letters be lost in groups?" I asked. The clerk didn't even look up. "Mail has its own weather," he said. "Sometimes it storms." I never stopped writing. But something in me started to wonder. Was she still at the yellow gate? Or had she written, and her words never reached me? Fort Leonard Wood became a blur after that. Drills, routines, maps, boots, cleaning rifles that didn't belong to us yet. We learned how to take orders before we knew how to question them. I kept writing Jenny like it was part of the uniform. Every Sunday, then midweek too. Sometimes just a sentence. Sometimes 4 pages. I told her everything, except how it felt to not hear back. I folded every envelope with care, even when I began to wonder if they made it past the gate. Mail call was a ritual. Even the guys who claimed they didn't care always watched the sergeant's hand. A name could change your day. No name could hollow it. Every now and then, I get a postcard. No words. Always the same style, a wildflower taped to the front. Once a pressed leaf. Another time, a clipped page from a book with only the words, "You're still in my thoughts," underlined in pencil. No return address. No message beyond the gesture. But it was her. At least, I thought so. I told myself that was enough. Then came the orders. Overseas training. Germany. We packed fast. A week later, I was on a military transport watching clouds melt into each other. I carried the last card she'd sent in my front pocket, like armor or evidence. The guy next to me read comic books and chewed gum like it was a competition. I didn't speak. I stared out the window and thought about yellow gates and letters that maybe never got where they were going. Germany was colder than I expected. Not just the air. The people. The food. The silence. I wrote Jenny about the little bakery on the edge of town that made rolls that reminded me of her mother's biscuits. I wrote her about frost on the windows, about the chapel with its wooden benches and the old woman who lit candles for soldiers she'd never met. Still no letters. At night, I reread what I'd written her. I kept carbon copies of some. Others I could recite by heart. One evening, I finally asked her in a letter, "Have I done something wrong, Jenny? If you're waiting for me to say the right thing, maybe I already have, and it got lost along the way." I didn't expect a reply, but 2 weeks later, I received another card. This one had no flower, no tape, just a faded photograph of the county fair, the Ferris wheel, the milk bottle booth. On the back, I didn't forget. Jay, that card hit different. Not just because of what it said, but because of what it didn't. She remembered, but still no return address. Still no explanation. The silence between us was no longer empty. It was full of something too heavy to name. My buddy Kyle from Ohio said I was crazy. "She's done, man," he said one night in the barracks. "Some girls just drift off. They think it'll last, then life gets busy. She's not like that. They're all like that, Weller. It's not their fault. It's just the world." I didn't argue. There was no point. But that night, I didn't write. For the first time in 3 months, I didn't write. A week later, I sat alone on the back steps of the motor pool, watching the snow fall sideways. I lit a cigarette I didn't want and thought about going home. Not literally, just the idea of it. About what would be left. About who might still be waiting at a yellow gate. When I went back inside, there was a small envelope on my bunk. Not a postcard. An actual letter. Return address, blank. Postmark, smeared. Inside, 1 page. "Tom, maybe you stopped writing. I wouldn't blame you. But I never stopped reading. I wish I had something braver to say. But the truth is, I tried. I wrote so many times. Maybe the letters got lost. Maybe I did. Still, I remember every word you sent. Jay, I must have read it 20 times that night. It didn't explain everything. It didn't promise anything. But it kept something alive. For the next 2 months, I didn't hear from her again. No cards. No flowers. No letters. I kept writing anyway. Until one day, just before we rotated posts again, I mailed a final envelope. Inside I wrote, "If you're still at the gate, I'll be home in May. If you're not, I'll understand." I didn't expect a reply, but I didn't stop hoping. I came home in May. I didn't go straight to the house. I walked from the bus stop to Maple Street, past the barber shop, past the church, past 100 things that hadn't changed. Then I saw it, her house. The yellow gate. Still there. But someone else was on the porch. "Jenny Harper?" I asked. The woman smiled softly. "They moved. Her mama passed a few months ago. Jenny left shortly after. She's with family now. Oak Ridge, I think." My throat tightened. "Any chance there's a forwarding address?" She thought. "There might be something. I found an old shoebox of mail. Come back tomorrow?" I nodded and left slowly, touching the gate as I passed. The paint flaked off under my fingers. Next morning, I returned. She handed me the box without a word. Inside, letters. Dozens. All addressed to me. All in Jenny's handwriting. Some opened. Some sealed. Some marked, "Return to sender." My name on every one. I sat on the porch and started reading. September 12th. I'll be at the Yellow Gate on Tuesdays at 7, even if it's just to wave at the idea of you. October 1st. If you don't write, I'll assume you're holding your breath. November 9th. Your brother saw me on Main. He said you were well. I didn't ask anything. I couldn't. Each letter was like a breath I hadn't known I'd been missing. Stories from home. Clippings. Jokes. Pieces of her world she tried to send me, and that never arrived. There was even one with a wildflower taped inside, just like the cards I'd received in Germany. And then, near the bottom, one more. March 3rd. Mama is tired in a way sleep does not mend. I keep writing, Not because I think they'll arrive, but because it helps me stay the same. It ended. If you come home in May, I'll be at the gate. If not, I'll forgive the ocean. I closed the box and sat in silence. Mrs. Miller, the woman who now lived there, returned with something else, a small key. Found it taped under the hall table, she said. Yours, I think. It led to a post office box downtown. Inside, more letters. All written by Jenny. None of them sent. The top one had a note. If you're reading this, the river finally found the sea. That evening, I went to the river. Our place, where we'd sat on the hood of my truck. Where she'd once whispered poems, and I pretended not to be nervous. I waited, and near dusk, I heard footsteps. She appeared slowly, like something remembered instead of real. Mrs. Miller said you'd come by, she said. I went to the post office, I said, lifting the box. She smiled softly. I meant to send them. Then I didn't. Then I couldn't. We stood a few feet apart, quiet. I never stopped writing, she said. I never stopped reading, I answered. At the yellow gate, we paused again. She reached into her coat and handed me a single, small envelope. One of the only ones I did send, she said. Came back unopened. She walked inside. At home, I opened it. If you come home, I'll be there. If not, I'll still be. That's all I know how to promise. Jay, I put it on top of the others, and realized the story between us hadn't ended. It had just taken the long way home. The next morning, I woke before the sun. Not from noise. From something quieter. A feeling, maybe, that there was still one more thing left to do. I carried the letters with me, all of them. The ones returned. The ones unsent. The one that found its way. I folded them carefully into the same shoebox, tied it with string, and walked to her uncle's hardware store in Oak Ridge. The door was locked, but the bell above it jingled as I entered. She was already sweeping. You're early, she said. You too. She leaned the broom against the counter and came around, brushing dust from her hands. You still carry the box? She asked. It carries me sometimes. She smiled, and for the first time in a year, it didn't feel like a memory. It felt like now. We sat on a bench behind the store. Just the two of us, the box between us, and the morning trying not to interrupt. I read them all, I said. Even the ones I shouldn't have seen. Even the ones you never sent. I wrote too many, she said. Or maybe not enough. Depends on the day. I paused, then asked the only question that had followed me home. Why didn't you send them? She didn't rush to answer. There's a moment, she said, right after you seal the envelope, where you ask, is this still true? And sometimes, I didn't know. She looked down at her hands. And then time passed. I thought, if you wanted to write, you would have. If you didn't, maybe I was writing for me. You were, I said. But I was reading for both of us. We didn't talk for a while after that. The silence wasn't awkward. It felt like part of the story. She finally reached into the box and pulled out the letter dated March 3rd, the one she wrote before her mother passed. I didn't know how to grieve and write at the same time, she said. So I wrote and didn't send. I'm sorry I wasn't here. You were where you had to be, she said. And so was I. She held up one of the cards, the ones I'd gotten in Germany. You got these. I did. They saved me. I mailed them from the school, she said. Never put a return address. Didn't want to make you feel cornered. Just connected. We smiled at the same time, then looked away. After a while, I asked, do you want them back? She shook her head. No, they belong to you now. You were always the one I was writing to, even when I didn't send them. I don't know what to do with them, I admitted. You already did it, she said. You came home. Before I left, I reached into my coat pocket and handed her a blank envelope. What's this? A new page, I said, just in case we're not done writing. She took it without a word, but her eyes said everything. That evening, I went to the river. I sat in the same place we used to sit. No letters this time. No waiting. Just air, water, and the weight of something that had stopped being heavy. She arrived near sunset, in a coat too light for spring. We didn't say anything at first, just shared the bench. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if the letters got through? I asked. She nodded. All the time. And I think we would have made more mistakes, she said. But maybe we would have made them together. I opened the shoebox between us. Should we burn them? I asked, half joking. No, she said softly. They already burned their way through us. I smiled. What now? She thought for a long time. Maybe we stop being pages, she said, and try being people again. We didn't hug. We didn't kiss. We just sat. Two people who had been strangers, then something more, then something less, then something different, something honest. The letters hadn't saved us, but they had kept something warm until we were ready to carry it ourselves. That night, I placed the box of letters on a shelf in my closet. Not hidden, not displayed, just waiting. And the next day, I wrote her a new letter. The first line was simple. This one, I'm delivering in person.
Sometimes, a letter never sent still finds its way. And sometimes what we thought was lost was just waiting for the right moment to be read. This story, like so many we share here, is about memory, about the quiet corners of the past that still echo in the hearts of those who lived it. If it moved you even just a little, you're in the right place. Here on our channel, we bring back the untold and almost forgotten stories of love, sacrifice, small towns, and second chances. The kind of stories that feel like something your parents might have whispered late at night, or your grandparents almost told you once but didn't. So if you believe the past still matters, if you believe in slow stories, real emotions, and endings that feel like home, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments. Did this story remind you of someone, of something, of a time? We read every single one, because stories like these, they don't just belong to us, they belong to all of us.